The suspended resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa State, Hudu Yunusa-Ari, is presently cooling his heels in police custody. He was arrested earlier this week by the police election planning, monitoring and evaluation team in Abuja. The first spokesman, Muyiwa Adejobi, in a statement confirmed the arrest of the embattled resident electoral commissioner and noted that he is currently being grilled to know the reason for his actions during the supplementary election in Adamawa State. While the suspended rec said he does not regret announcing Aisha Binani Dahiru of the All Progressives Congress as the winner of the 2023 governorship election in the state, the first spokesman said other individuals culpable in the saga are being interrogated by the team in line with President Muhammadu Buhari's directive for full investigation on the matter. Well, joining us in our Abuja studio is the HOD, Public and International Law, Nile University of Abuja, Dr. Siraju Yakubu. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right. Dr. Siraju, the resident electoral commissioner, Hudu Yunusa-Ari, is insisting he did not do anything wrong. And he's saying that what he did is backed by law, even though Aisha Binani has actually dropped her case before at the courts. How do you interpret what is going on?
Well, it depends on how we look at it. After any election, a result has to be declared. Yes, so the law provides that result has to be declared and at a specific point or at the designated center. The procedure provided that the result should be declared, and after declaration, the person who declares the result will hand over the relevant documents to the REC. Now, the question is, who declared the result? Under the law, the person, or under the Electoral Law 2022, the person who declared the result, especially in the context of gubernatorial election, is the returning officer, who is duly appointed by INEC to serve as the presiding officer. At the returning officer there. So, the question now, who is a returning officer? A returning officer is someone who is appointed by INEC to collect a result and announce it at an appropriate venue designated by law. In relation to the gubernatorial election, it is the RO, that is the returning officer at the state. Yes, so definitely the law did not mention REC among the people who can declare results, no. But the definition itself did not exclude INEC officials from becoming returning officers for the purpose of declaration, collation and declaration of results. In this case, we are not aware that INEC has appointed the REC, that is Hudu Yunusa-Ari, to serve as the collation officer there. There was a collation officer, a professor, I can't remember the name. So it is that return officer who ought to have declared results, not Ari. However, Ari has, in his letter to INEC, has made serious allegation against the two commissioners, national commissioners, who were dispatched to Adamawa State to work with him. And he said it was because of that he specifically went ahead and declared the results. Now, whether he has committed an offense or not is a matter for the court to decide. But if you look at it again, under the agency law, the principal who has appointed an agent had the power to revoke that appointment. What do I mean? If you appoint somebody to sell a house for you, either in writing or orally, you can as well revoke it, either by conduct, orally, or even in writing. By conduct, that once you step in and start negotiating with the potential client, you have revoked the agent's contract. So now, is there any agency contract between the returning officer, a professor who was appointed in Adamawa State to collect and announce results, between him and INEC? Yes, you can see that usually these are, the officers appointed by INEC to conduct election at every level are usually not INEC staff. So there's could be said to be a commercial contract, because at the end of the day, at the end of that exercise, they will be paid some allowances and so on. So if there is a contract of agency, so that the INEC now is the principal, and the presiding of the returning officer at Adamawa becomes the agent. So, and REC in a state is a representative of INEC. So if the question is that, can the REC be regarded as INEC itself? Under the law of tort, there's what we call vicarious liability, that a staff of an organization is seen in certain circumstances as acting on behalf of the agency he's serving, and whatever action he has done will bind the agency he is working for. So in this case, if Ari thinks that yes, he represents INEC, and in that situation, as he alleged that it would have been chaotic and so on and so forth, that he has the power to step in to revoke the agency contract that exists between the return officer and INEC, then you can safely say that yes, he has acted within the law to have announced the result. But when you look at the Electoral Act, no, regs are not empowered to announce results. But when you look at other aspects of law, you can say yes. So, like I said, it all depends on how the court will determine the matter now after the investigation. But importantly, I would like to draw attention of the...
Yes, we're talking about vicarious responsibility. Or vicarious responsibility only comes in when there is a vagueness, when there is no specific law with regard to the responsibility of individuals or positions. But in this case, it is specific. That is the returning officer that announces the result, not the REC. It's not as if the returning officer had a problem with his mouth, that he cannot speak, or his leg is broken, he cannot walk there, or his car broke down, or he was kidnapped on the way by some bandits. But nothing like that happened. So vicarious responsibility should only be invoked when the person specifically directed by law to do a particular job is not available. But this case is the person is available. So vicarious responsibility itself is vicarious abandonment of responsibility. Don't you think?
You see, let me explain further. I think what I mean by vicarious liability, vicarious liability can be incurred by an employer. And in this case, INEC, where in relation to the action of the REC. but we are not. But it has nothing to do with the abduction of this and that. Maybe you wanted to refer to my explanation on agency law, that the return officer was very much available, so there's no need for the revocation of his own authority to announce result. But I want you to understand that I'm just explaining the law, or the laws as they are. I'm not trying to determine any issue here. That is for the court, and I don't want any court to cite me for contempt. I'm just trying to explain the law itself. So, like I said again, and I won't say it, whether Mr. Barrister Ari has committed any offense will be determined at an appropriate place, and that is the court. But what is important now is to focus on the investigation. That is ongoing now under the police authorities.
All right. Dr. Yakubu, you also raised an interesting proposition, that is, if INEC is culpable somewhat, but then you said INEC also has the rights to revoke any contract it may have had with the suspects. In this case, Professor Ari. After all, INEC has the power to recall if indeed it gave him the authority to do what he says he did, seeing as he is maintaining innocence in this whole saga. But what do you think? We're just, trying to explore angles to this controversy. What do you think? INEC revoking whatever agreement, or INEC saying that the returning officer should go back to perform and conclude his duties, doesn't that expunge any culpability of INEC in this case?
No, I'm not saying INEC is culpable. And about the revocation of the agency, let me make it again clear. The agency contract exists between the returning officer and the INEC, not between Hudu Ari and INEC. Hudu Ari is an employee of INEC. But the returning officer, even though he's an employee, but that his contract can be viewed as an agency contract. Contract to perform a specific service, in this case, to conduct election in a state. So that's what I mean. And I'm not saying by any means that INEC is culpable. It's culpable. But I'm just trying to explain the doctrine of, the law of vicarious liability, where an employer can be vicariously liable for the action of his own staff. And in this case, Ari's action on INEC. But I'm not saying in any way that INEC is culpable in any way. And the fact that INEC has even taken steps to suspend Ari shows that INEC itself has taken steps to distance itself from actions of Ari. If you can remember, INEC issued statement almost immediately that Ari's actions were null and void and of no effect. So INEC may not necessarily be culpable in the circumstance.
Now, the president ordered an investigation into the matter. And there are those who are saying there are also agencies who were present there when the resident electoral commissioner made that announcement. And we didn't see them perhaps swinging to action, knowing that it wasn't in his place to make that announcement. Now, if we are looking at a thorough investigation, what, in your view, would that be?
My view is that no stone should be left unturned. Like I said, Ari himself has written a letter to INEC explaining himself, explaining what really happened. So I think the investigation, if it has to be very thorough, it has to be expanded to cover the two commissioners who Ari alleged that they were compromised. The politicians involved should also be investigated, especially the officials in Adamawa State, and even the security agents who are there. should be asked to, should be called to answer questions. So the investigation should not just revolve around Ari alone and leave it at Ari alone, no. But if you want to get to the root of this matter, I think investigation should be widened to bring all the persons, that have been pointed within that investigation. That's the only way. I think we can. The root of the matter can be get at.
Well, we're told that Ari Hudu was arrested. Nobody told us how he was arrested because he was reported to be missing. Nobody knew whether he appeared or whether they caught him somewhere or not. What do you think was going on?
Well, I don't know. But like any other Nigerian also, I think it baffles us, not have any further information from the police as to how Ari was arrested, if he was actually arrested. But I think what people know before then, Ari has made a statement that he has written to INEC, and then police have invited him for questioning, and he said that he's going to honor that invitation. So whether Ari was arrested or submitted himself as invited is a question to be, I think, answered by the police.
But as an expert on this issue, what really are the implications of this? Of course, this controversy brought up a lot of, uproar, people commenting here and there. But for you, what are the major indices that we should really worry about and hope that with this police investigation underway, we will be able to tame it head on?
I think we should be worried about our democracy here in Nigeria, because there is a lot of influence of money in politics, and it appears that almost everybody and bodies and agencies involved in election in Nigeria appear to have been compromised in one way or the other, because there are various allegations of corruption, changing results and so on and so forth, and that's no good for our democracy. I think our politicians should know that the hand that count profits should be ready to count losses. So election is about winning and losing. There's nothing in between. So the fact that I contest election and I don't win does not mean that it's the end of life for me. What is important for the politicians is for them to see politics as service to the nation, not service to themselves. They should see politics as something that is ad hoc, not a vocation or a profession. No, it's not a vocation, it's not a profession. They should have, politicians should have their professions. They have, and businesses where they can fall back in case they lose election. If politicians will do like I said and will see politics as a service, then I think politics will no longer be a do-or-die affair that I must win, I must retain my seat, or I must clinch a particular seat, because without politics I cannot survive. I think that is what is informing all this kind of embarrassment to our nation. INEC officials are accused, police officials, other security agencies, and so on and so forth, of being compromised by the politicians. So I think we need to take issues of corruption very seriously with regard to elections, and I think the government has tried something like that when probably it limited the circulation of money close to the election, and I think that should be commended. Yes, and I think generally again the Nigerian populace should see it as a duty upon themselves to shun corruption, because the giver cannot give where nobody is going to take. So even the electorates and other stakeholders, I think they should view corruption as a very serious hindrance to the development of our democracy and to the development of our nation.
All right. And that would be a fine place to leave this conversation. Dr. Siraju Yakubu, HOD, Public and International Law, Nile University of Abuja. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.